Our top story tonight, Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing has urged younger Malaysian ministers to move forward constructively and work together with Singapore. It's so both countries can compete with the rest of the world instead of managing, I quote, unnecessary, unhelpful and unproductive activities. Mr. Chan was speaking to the media this morning in response to the latest third-party note issued by Malaysia yesterday.
With the situation on the ground growing increasingly tense, Mr. Chan called for calm and sensibility, as things could go wrong at any time with ships being too close to one another. Risk of escalation cannot be underestimated.
We should all revert to the pre-October 25th status quo ante for things to calm down. And there are ways to do this under international law without prejudice to Malaysia. We have to be sensible about this.
Mr. Chan also said that Malaysia has no right to request for cease and desist, as Singapore has been patrolling and performing constabulary duties in the disputed area for decades. Sending Malaysian government vessels into the area is also inconsistent with innocent passage.
Conducting unlawful activities, unauthorized activities under international law. Refusing to leave. Then suggesting that Singapore vessels leave the area for talks to happen. That's not right. That cannot be right. Even the layman can see that this cannot be right. You made a claim, you send forces in, you ask Singapore to leave as conditions to start talks. How can this be?
Like Transport Minister Khaw Boon Wan, Mr. Chan feels the current dispute reminds him of Pedra Branca and other bilateral issues of the past. In the case of Pedra Branca, Malaysia claimed the island unilaterally in 1979, resulting in military forces being deployed and tension heightened. This also set off a dispute that lasted for decades.
We went to the ICJ, and even then, we did not fully settle the issue. Even as we speak today, we are still managing the issue. It has become a blemish in our bilateral ties.
However, Mr. Chan is hopeful that a swift and amicable resolution can be reached through engagement between both countries.
Since May, I have met various younger Malaysian leaders. They all expressed the hope that they want to work closer together. We all agreed that competition is not so much between Singapore and Malaysia as between us and the rest of the world. I hope their actions will match their words. I hope they still believe in this, working together.
If that is not possible, Singapore is prepared to escalate matters to defend its sovereignty.
If such talks do not eventually produce an amicable resolution, the Singapore government would be prepared for this matter to be settled by recourse to an appropriate international third-party dispute settlement procedure.
As of now, Mr. Chan hopes that the Malaysian ships leave the area peacefully and immediately.
Now, Mr. Chan's response comes after Malaysia proposed that both countries cease and desist from sending assets into the disputed area. But our Foreign Affairs Ministry immediately rejected this proposition. It asked Malaysian government vessels to stop their provocative violations of Singapore's sovereignty instead. MFA also asked for status quo to return to that of before 25th October. Well, Malaysian leaders made no direct reference to Singapore's rejection of Putrajaya's cease and desist request last night. But Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad welcomed talks.
The important thing is that Singapore agreed to a negotiation. So until we finish with our negotiation, we cannot give a final answer.
Dr. Mahathir made this comment during a news conference in Petaling Jaya today. He was also asked why Malaysia had decided to extend the port limits now and whether he was concerned that this would strain bilateral ties.
Well, lots of people announce their borders off and on, and that causes a lot of dispute. So we'll settle the dispute based on legal provision and our rights.
Well, Malaysia's Home Minister Muhyiddin Yassin also weighed in on the issue. He said he hopes the disputes with Singapore over the maritime boundaries and airspace can be discussed at the negotiating table. Speaking in Johor, Mr. Muhyiddin said it's vital to prevent any unnecessary rivalry. He said relations between Singapore and Malaysia have been good and both countries want to work together. He also added that he believes the ministers concerned will do their best to resolve the issues.